Hey guys, it's Annie, and today I thought I would do the Bookish TMI tag. I saw Jesse the Reader do this, and I thought that it looked really fun. So, let's get started. Question 1. What character has the best style? I have to go with Yaz from Hungry by H.A. Swain. She just is a really fun character overall, and when you first meet her, you think that she's just kind of like all the other characters and doesn't really care about what's happening around her, but then as you keep reading, you realize there's actually a lot more to her than you thought. Number 2. What is your book crush? I've got to go with David from the Reckoners trilogy. He's like the perfect blend of he's like serious and he pays attention to things. He's always like logically trying to figure things out, but at the same time he's super funny, and he's like in the book he's the main like driving force of the plot, but he is also the comic relief. And I just think that he is the ultimate perfect book character. And if I could date a book character, I'd probably date David. Number 3, the biggest or longest book on your shelf. And I have the complete works of William Shakespeare. I'm a theater kid, so I have a lot of books, but I never thought I'd actually use this, and then I found out our school has Shakespeare competition coming up in September, so I can actually use this now. Number 4, the heaviest book on your shelf. Again, it's the complete works of William Shakespeare. Let's see how many pages this thing is. I actually don't know. Yeah, there's 1,375 pages in this book. Yeah. Number 5, do you have any book posters? I actually don't know. I'm trying to think. I might have had a Divergent poster at one time. Oh, I think I have that poster from Trials of Apollo. It's not hanging in my room right now, but I think I still have it, so if that counts, then yes, I have book posters. Question 6, do you own any book-themed jewelry? I haven't really owned a lot of book-themed jewelry, but I did have a pair of earrings from Catching Fire a while back. I have no idea where they went, but I did have them at one time. Number 7, a book OTP. I almost went with my favorite book, but I feel like if I do, I'm going to be talking about my favorite book through this whole video. So instead, I went with Stella and Hayden from Silence by Deborah Leighton. I love this couple so much. Like, they're so romantic together, but they're also really cute, and they both just overcome some really major struggles in being together, and overall it's just a really cute OTP. Favorite book series? The Reckoners. It's my favorite thing. I love this book so much. I cannot stop fangirling over it. I've actually ended up convincing a few of my friends to read this series, so now we're texting each other, and she's reading the first book, Steelheart, right now, which is with my mom, because I've also convinced her to read it, and, yeah, we've just been texting each other, and she's constantly just like, oh my gosh, I love this character so much, and I'm like, oh, just wait, there's plot twists on their way. And that's what I love about this series, is there's so many plot twists, and a lot of them you don't see coming. Favorite book-to-movie soundtrack? My favorite book-to-movie soundtrack, I haven't really listened to a lot. I used to listen to them a lot, but I don't really do it so much anymore. I guess I really liked the Eclipse soundtrack, so I'll just go with the Eclipse soundtrack. I liked it. A book or story that you wish would continue? Middle School Magic. I remember I read this book in the 6th grade, and I loved it so much. I wasn't putting it down. I loved this trilogy so much, and when I closed the book, I was like, that's it? It's over? Because I really just, along the way, fell in love with the characters and the story, and I did hear that the author's thinking of writing more, but as of now, this is all there is. Favorite standalone? I don't own this book, but I remember reading it and loving it, and that is Dangerous by Shannon Hale. Dangerous by Shannon Hale. This book was just overall really good. It was a sci-fi. It was the first book that I read in the superhero genre that actually took the superhero genre seriously. It wasn't a parody, it wasn't a comedy, it was just the characters were superheroes, and that was just the way it was. And it Alima Todd, I mean, not Alima Todd, I can't think straight. Shannon Hale did a great job at bringing these characters together and just bringing them out, and just there's OTPs, there's characters that you love, there's characters that you don't love, there's characters that you're not sure if you love them until the very end of the book, and I could talk forever about this book, but I'm not going to. Since when have you read books? I don't know, I've been reading books for about as long as I can remember. My mom's really into reading, and she's actually an elementary school librarian right now. I have neighbors that are really into reading. Pretty much a lot of my family is really into reading, so I guess it was kind of instilled in me from when I was born that I was just going to be a reader. What is your Hogwarts house? I am a Hufflepuff. I love being a Hufflepuff. And at first I thought I was a Ravenclaw, but then my friend and I were talking, and I took it on Pottermore too. My friend and I were talking, and I was like, I used to think I was a Ravenclaw, and she's like, Annie, you are such a Hufflepuff. And when I thought about it, I'm like, you're right, I am such a Hufflepuff. A quality you look for in a book. I guess a quality that I really look for in books is just, first of all, one that will keep me on the edge of my seat as I'm reading, something that will make me want to know what happens next, and then also a book that is well written, and a book with a few plot twists along the way that keep things interesting. My favorite book quote. I have so many of these. The first one, again, it's from Steel Heart by Brandon Sanderson, which is with my mom right now and she's not at home, but it is, you cannot be so afraid of what might happen that you are unwilling to act. It takes people with big dreams to accomplish big goals. I didn't fall in love with you. I walked into love with you, with my eyes wide open, choosing to take every step along the way. I do believe in fate and destiny, but I also believe that we are only fated to do the things that we'd choose anyway. And I'd choose you in 100 lifetimes, in 100 worlds, in any version of reality. I'd find you, and I'd choose you. Only the people who are really here will ever experience this. It's just us, here, in the moment. Sorry about that rant. I just had too many good book quotes and I had to share them all. Favorite author? For this one, I'd have to say either Braden Bell or Alima Todd, because they both just bring something interesting to the table with their writing. Braden Bell, he has a big vocabulary, so he uses lots of interesting words. Alima Todd just can flesh out the world building really well. If they wrote a book together, I would love that. Favorite book cover? I love this cover so much, it makes me happy. I haven't actually reread this book, and I really want to reread it. It's The Chaos of Stars by Kiersten White, and I just love this cover so much. It's kind of damaged because I've had it for a while, but yeah, I like this cover. Action or romance? Can I please have both? I love books that are packed with action, but I also like it if there's a little romance to it too. I wouldn't say I really prefer one over the other, but I do love reading about romance, so I guess I'd have to go more romance than action, but I love books that are both. Where do you go when a sad moment happens in a book? For me, I just kind of close the book and go do something else, like whether I'm looking at my phone or watching BookTube or maybe writing a story. I don't have any one specific place that I go to. I'm actually kind of in that right now with my current read. I've hit some plot twists and I'm just like, no! So, yeah, I just go to different places and do other stuff. How long does it take you to finish a book? I don't know. Most of the time it's about 2 weeks, but there have been a couple exceptions. I read Everything in one day. I read Thirsty by M.T. Anderson in about 3 days. So it just depends on how into the book I am and just how long the book is in general. How long do you mourn when you finish a book? Again, I don't really measure this amount of time. I remember there are books that I've, once I finished them, I've not been able to stop thinking about them for a few weeks, and then when I'm in that kind of situation, I pick up another book, and a lot of people say it might ruin the book for you, but for me, I guess it actually helps, and it gets my mind away from constantly thinking of this one book. I know I'm about to seriously mourn a book series because it's a trilogy, and I'm almost done with the second book. And once I finish that third book, I'm just gonna be seriously mourning this trilogy. But yeah, it doesn't really I guess most of the time it doesn't take me long unless I'm really into the book. Your least favorite book? I'm not sure if I liked this one or not, but I guess I really didn't enjoy Thirsty by M.T. Anderson that much. Like, it was a good plot and it was good world building, which kept me interested, but the end left me so disappointed, and I wanted to see things happen more, so I'll probably just go with Thirsty by M.T. Anderson. What makes you attracted to a character? First of all, they've got to be, like, a selfless character. Like, if he's a selfless character, I like that a lot, but also he has to have a sense of humor. Like, I've read books where the character is just really romantic and selfless, and I just don't feel super into him because he just doesn't have a sense of humor. And I guess, yeah, selflessness and humor. If they have both of those, I just love them. What makes you find a character unattractive? Betrayals. Okay, but on a serious... But, yes, betrayals are one of them, but on a more serious note, one that's, like, arrogant and self-centered, and obviously one that's working against the protagonist makes me not. But I have to say more. Betrayals are the worst, and they make me so upset. The reason you joined BookTube. I guess I joined BookTube because I was watching all of the other booktubers reading books and talking about books and having fun with it, and I was like, hey, I want to do that too, so that's what I decided to do. The last book that made you cry. Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. I cried. I don't know quite why I cried because it turned out everything was okay, but as I was reading this one specific part, which I won't say because of spoilers, but I just sat there and I was like, no, and I literally cried. But the book that's made me cry the hardest was probably Luminescence by Braden Bell because some really sad stuff happened in this one. Last book that you gave 5 stars. Again, I really don't want to be talking about my favorite book this whole time, but I will go with the book that I gave 4.5 out of 5 to, and that was Hungry by H.A. Swain. It was really good, and I highly recommend it, but I guess what kept me from giving it the full 5 stars is it appears that there's a little bit of insta-love going on, which for me makes me not really like the book. Current read? Firefight by Brandon Sanderson. I love it. I love it so much. I was actually a little worried that it was getting predictable because a lot of the things I was predicting were coming true, and I was like, am I just good at predicting, or is this book predictable? And then out of nowhere, this plot twist just hit me in the face, and I was like, what? No, why? So, yeah, I'm really loving my current read, which is always a good thing. Last book you read? It was Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. I'm just barely starting to get more time to read, and so because of that, I sat down and looked at this trilogy, and it was like, I might as well read this trilogy, and I have fallen in love with it, and now I can't stop talking about it. Last book to movie adaptation you watched? I actually can't remember, so I'm gonna go with a book to movie adaptation that I'm excited for, and that is The Darkest Minds. I haven't read this yet, but I'm really excited to, and so, yeah, this is the book to movie adaptation that I'm looking forward to most. A book character that you've always wanted to talk to. I've always wanted to talk to a lot of book characters, so this one's kind of hard to pick. And again, I'm talking about this one way too much, but Pro from the Reckoners trilogy, he's such a complex character, and I'm at a point, I used to really love this character, but now I'm at a point in the trilogy where I'm not sure if I love this character or not anymore. But yeah, he's a character that I've just always thought would be interesting to talk to. An author you want to talk to? I guess for this one I'm gonna pick Rick Riordan, because his world building, he built a world of books, and now everybody who, like, if you have not been living under a rock, you probably know what Percy Jackson is, and I want to know how he made a world that everyone knows about and everyone loves, because as a writer, that's something that I just really aspire to do. Favorite book snack? I don't really eat while I read, so I don't really have a favorite book snack, but as far as just a snack that I like, is I like stroopwafels. It's just so random, but I love stroopwafels, and I'm not quite sure why. A book world you want to live in. I mean, we all want to go to Hogwarts, so I would love to go to Hogwarts, but another one that I want to live in, just world building wise, would be Babalar in Firefight. It's a city of water, and so they're water, and then there's these buildings that are poking up above the water, and people are living on the rooftops, and inside the buildings there are like these fruits growing on trees, and they glow, and there's spray paint that glows all over the world, and overall this would be a fun world to live in if you weren't running the risk of constantly dying while living there. But world building wise, I would definitely pick Babalar. A book world you don't want to live in. I don't think any of us want to live in Panem. That just doesn't sound fun. The last time you smelled a book? I just did. Do you write? Boy, oh boy, do I write. I write probably too much. I have too many good ideas in my head and not enough time to get them all written down. Favorite romance book? So for this one I have two. If you take the more contemporary genre, I like Silence by Deborah Layton, but if you take a more fantasy genre, I pick The Chaos of Stars. Favorite book titles? I guess as far as book titles I like, again, Chaos of Stars. I like the title, Turtles All the Way Down. I haven't finished this book yet, but it seems pretty interesting, so I'm looking forward to getting this one finished. And then I guess I'm looking to see if there's any others in here that I really like. I like the words here, penumbras, luminescence. I just like the names of the titles in those books. Weird insults in a book. I guess I can't really think of any books with weird insults at the moment. I remember Thirsty had some weird insults, but I can't remember what those were. I guess I'm trying again to avoid bringing up my favorite book in all of these. So, but in the trilogy in the Reckoners trilogy, Brandon Sanderson kind of came up with his own lingo that they use, and they always call people slonces, which is, I guess, kind of weird. But on another note, I have a part that I want to read. You're like a potato in a minefield. Oh wait, that was actually not an insult. I'm sorry, guys. I can't think of any weird insults off the top of my head, but that was the best I could do, and the more I looked at that quote, I was like, oh my gosh, that wasn't an insult, sorry. Favorite magical term? Expecto Patronum! Your Quidditch position. For me, my Quidditch position would probably be like an audience member. I'm not a sportsy person. I used to do fencing, I guess, but I'm not really a sporty person, so I guess I would just be a spectator. A song you relate to a book. I guess I'd relate Rise Up by Imagine Dragons to Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. The song just, I think, does have to do with a lot of what the characters are going through in this, so yeah. Favorite book-related pickup line? I got the book back. My life without you would be like Tia without her cola. Useless. Have you used it? I have not used it, but I would love to use it. Favorite fandom? I guess my favorite fandom in general would be the Percy Jackson fandom. It's big and everybody just always gets together and they're talking about the things that have happened in the fandom, and I just like the fandom. How many books do you own? I have no idea, but I don't know, I get rid of books sometimes, so I guess not a lot, but I do own quite a few. And finally, we have who do you tag? I don't really want to have anybody that I want to tag, but you, if you were watching this, congratulations, you have been tagged. Thank you all for watching the video, and I'm glad that you watched it all the way through because it's kind of long. And I will see you guys in my next video.